Good morning, everyone. Today is Saturday, December 15th, 2018. You're listening to Red Pill 78. I am the corruption detector, and this is your Red Pilled weekend news brief. We have a follow-up report from the Gateway Pundit on Mueller's deadline yesterday to turn in those original 302s. Do you think he did it? Footnote in Mueller's filing about a mysterious FBI interview with Peter Strzok raises questions. Special counsel Robert Mueller filed his memo responding to Flynn at the Friday afternoon deadline, and it confirmed General Flynn was set up. Mueller did not release the original 302 report on Flynn, which was taken by Special Agent Joe Pkwy and Peter Strzok in January of 2017. Instead, Mueller cited a 302 interview with Peter Strzok taken on July 19, 2017, about the ambush interview he had with General Flynn earlier that year. Mueller redacted the name of the other FBI agent who was with Strzok interviewing Flynn, but we know it's Joe Pkwy. Here we are. This is what he gave him. Throughout the interview, Flynn had a very sure demeanor and did not give any indicators of deception. He did not parse his words or hesitate in any of his answers. He only hedged once, which they documented in the 302. Strzok and Pkwy both had the impression at the time that Flynn was not lying or did not think he was lying. Flynn struck Strzok as bright but not profoundly sophisticated. What a jerk. The agents left Flynn in a collegial, positive way. There was no discussion of follow-up. The missing original 302 report on Flynn immediately raises flags, but an interesting footnote in Mueller's filing is raising even more questions. According to a footnote screenshot below, Peter Strzok was also interviewed on July 19, 2017, 4 days after his paramour Lisa Page was removed from Mueller's investigation, in relation to other matters not as part of the investigation of Flynn or any investigation of Strzok's conduct. Why did FBI agents interview Strzok? He was fired just a few days later, but the interview was not about his conduct. Strzok was interviewed on July 19, 2017, in relation to other matters. The document is heavily redacted. I will leave a link to this below, you guys, so you can go and check it out yourself. Peter Strzok was fired by Mueller just a few days after the FBI interviewed him in late July. Other questions. Does an original Flynn 302 even exist? Was the original 302 altered, edited, rewritten, destroyed, or never even prepared in a timely manner? General Flynn and the American people deserve answers. Where is the original 302 report on Flynn? I can't tell you how good this bodes for General Flynn. This right here is grounds for his conviction and the entire case to be thrown clear out the door. If anybody has any experience with law and would like to comment on the implications of something like this, I urge you to do it in the comments below. Thank you so much. Next, we're going to go on to an article from the Daily Caller. This is pretty important because it's about the California wildfires, and PG&E says here that California's largest utility allegedly falsified safety records after a major pipeline explosion. Regulators are accusing one of California's largest public utilities of falsifying safety data records shortly after the utility company was fined millions of dollars for a massive natural gas explosion in San Francisco. A California Public Utilities Commission investigation found that the Pacific Gas and Electric Company lacked enough employees to fulfill requests to document natural gas pipelines. PG&E pushed supervisors to complete the work, leading staff to falsify data from 2012 to 2017. Utility falsification of safety-related records is a serious violation of law and diminishes our trust in the utilities' reports on their progress, Commission President Michael Picker noted in a statement Friday. These findings are another example of why we are investigating PG&E's safety culture. The company, which is on the verge of bankruptcy, claims it now has enough employees to effectively document pipelines throughout the state, only after they've caused several massive wildfires that have killed hundreds of people. We're committed to accurate and thorough reporting and record keeping, and we didn't live up to that commitment in this case, utility spokesman Matt Nauman said in a statement. I'd also like to point out that wasn't PG&E the company that that movie Aaron Brockovich was based on, where they gave all those people cancer? All those kids? The utility was fined $3 million after it was convicted of 6 felony charges for not properly maintaining a natural gas pipeline that exploded in 2010. Regulators also fined PG&E $1.6 billion for the blast, which killed 8 people and wiped out an entire neighborhood in San Bruno. California's Public Utility Commission gave the evidence to a judge who will hear testimony on the findings and allow PG&E to provide its own side of the story. The company has come under intense scrutiny following a series of wildfire outbreaks in November that leveled a small Northern California town. 3 major fires, the Camp Fire, Woolsey Fire, and Hill Fire, scorched more than 200,000 acres, or roughly 300 square miles, mostly in Northern California. Hundreds of thousands of Californians were forced to evacuate, including 160,000 from the Los Angeles area, where the Woolsey Fire and smaller Hill Fire burned. PG&E does not deserve to continue to exist as a company. It's incredible that they're able to do so much destruction, able to kill so many people, move so many people, displace them, destroy their homes, their families, their entire town. All right, and they've been getting away with it for years. This is just disgusting, disgusting behavior, and I think it's about high time that they paid for what they've done. All right, another story from the Daily Caller. The FBI has released key Steele Dossier document. This ought to be interesting. The FBI has released a summary that James Comey used in briefing the President-elect Donald Trump and President Obama regarding the Steele Dossier. The document is sure to grab the attention of Republicans who have accused the FBI of relying too heavily on the unverified dossier for its investigation of possible collusion between the Trump campaign and Russian government. Doesn't exist. The summary shows that the FBI claimed Steele was working for private clients when he was actually working for the DNC and Clinton campaign. It also noted that Steele relied on identified and unidentified sources to fill out the dossier. The FBI on Friday released a 2-page document that sheds some light on what former FBI Director James Comey briefed to President-elect Donald Trump and President Obama regarding the infamous Steele dossier. The document, first reported by Politico, asserts that Christopher Steele, the former British spy who compiled the dossier, was working on behalf of private clients in his investigation of Trump's possible ties to Russia. His dossier contained highly politically sensitive information, according to the summary. Steele, who is not identified by name in the heavily redacted document, is also described as collecting information from a layered network of identified and unidentified subsources, some of which has been corroborated in the past. Those characterizations are likely to draw the attention of Republicans, many of whom have accused the FBI of relying too heavily on Steele's unverified reporting in his investigation of collusion between the Trump campaign and Russian government. Steele was ultimately working for the Clinton campaign and the DNC, not a private client, and Steele's use of some unidentified sources could raise questions about his collection methods. A former MI6 officer, Steele was hired in June 2016 to investigate Trump's ties to Russia. His immediate employer was Fusion GPS, an opposition research firm that was working for Perkins Coie, the law firm that represented the Clinton campaign and the DNC. Steele, who was unable to travel to Russia because of his past work there, relied on intermediaries to obtain information about Trump and his advisors. Republicans have blasted the FBI for failing to disclose who hired Steele to the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court in applications to conduct surveillance on former Trump advisor Carter Page. The applications for the warrants note that Steele was working for someone who opposed Trump's campaign, but did not identify Fusion GPS, the Clinton team, or the DNC. Comey and Democrats have argued that it was only important for surveillance court judges to know that the information about Trump was coming from someone who opposed his campaign. BS. The 2-page summary, which Politico obtained through a Freedom of Information Act lawsuit, is heavily redacted and does not reveal many details about what Comey told Trump during his now infamous January 6, 2017 meeting at Trump Tower. Comey visited Trump with 3 other intelligence community chiefs, but stayed behind to speak with the president-elect about Steele's report. Comey has said that he told Trump about Steele's claim that the Kremlin had blackmail material on Trump. The dossier claims that the Russian government has video of Trump with prostitutes at a Moscow hotel in 2013. Trump has vehemently denied it, and no evidence has come forward supporting the allegation. Trump was only in Moscow for one night during the trip in question. People with him on the trip have said that he had a very narrow window of opportunity to engage in the conduct alleged by Steele because he was in his hotel room for only about 5 hours. The FBI document also reveals that Steele had been compensated by the Bureau for previous reporting over the past 3 years. The summary also noted that Steele's dossier appears to have been acquired by multiple Western press organizations starting in October. Steele and Fusion GPS met at least as early as September 2016 with reporters from several news outlets. Page, the former Trump campaign aide who is discussed throughout the dossier, has said that he first received a media request about the dossier's allegations on July 26, 2016. The reporter, who worked for the Wall Street Journal, asked Page whether he met in Russia earlier that month with Igor Sechin and Igor Dvakin, two Kremlin insiders. Unknown to Page at the time, the claim about the two Igors is made in a memo that Steele added to the dossier on July 19, 2016. Steele has repeatedly claimed he has never met Sechin or Dvakin. The FBI officially cut ties with Steele on November 1, 2016, over his contacts with the press. He was a source for an October 31, 2016 article published by Mother Jones. The FBI continued receiving information from Steele, however, through the Justice Department official Bruce Orr, whose wife worked for Fusion GPS, met numerous times with Steele after the 2016 election. He briefed the FBI on his interactions with Steele at least a dozen times. Christopher Steele is dirty. And I'd say that he must still maintain ties to the British government, because once an MI6 officer, always an MI6 officer, just like the CIA. All right, and finally, a bit of good news to round us out. From the Daily Caller as well, Texas federal judge strikes down Obamacare. Trump responds. A Texas federal judge on Friday struck down as unconstitutional a key provision of the Affordable Care Act. Individual mandate can no longer be fairly read as an exercise of Congress's tax power and is still impermissible under the Interstate Commerce Clause, meaning the individual mandate is unconstitutional, wrote District Judge Reed O'Connor in his opinion, according to CNN. Although Judge O'Connor held the individual mandate to be essential to and inseparable from the remainder of the ACA, he also did not yet block the law. Trump lauded the news in a Friday night tweet, calling for Congress to pass an alternative law that provides great health care and protects pre-existing conditions. Trump says, "As I predicted all along, Obamacare has been struck down as an unconstitutional disaster. Now Congress must pass a strong law that provides great health care and protects pre-existing conditions. Mitch and Nancy, get it done." He also called the ruling great news for America. Wow, but not surprisingly, Obamacare was just ruled unconstitutional by a highly respected judge in Texas. Great news for America. And there's reporting from CNN. We're just going to skip over that portion. The ruling is widely expected to be appealed. Today's ruling is an assault on 133 million Americans with pre-existing conditions, on the 20 million Americans who rely on the ACA's consumer protections for healthcare, on America's faithful progress toward affordable healthcare for all Americans, California Attorney General Xavier Becerra said via statement, according to CNN. The ACA has already survived more than 70 unsuccessful repeal attempts and withstood scrutiny in the Supreme Court. My question is, what about all the people who are forced to purchase ridiculously expensive health care so that they can avoid paying for the penalty? Or what about people who are unable to afford the health care and therefore have to pay the penalty? That was me for a while there. There was nothing available here. Everything that was in my area was stripped away. All right, there was 1 year where I got good health care, and then very quickly it was all gone. So unfortunately, for a long time, I didn't have health care, and I had to pay that penalty, which was very, very unfair, and I was not happy about it. All right, everybody, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm probably going to give another video later on today. It just depends on my schedule. I appreciate everybody tuning in. Please like, share, and subscribe. Good luck, and God bless.